There we go. Hello and welcome everyone to Enchanted Empath Live, a podcast for your soul. I'm Charlene Murphy, your host and an intuitive empath myself. And I'm on a mission to help you realize your inner brilliance so that you can manifest anything, heal your body, build and stretch your intuitive muscles, and just be that powerful presence on the planet that you actually came here to be. So I'm here to remind you of all that. All right. So today, come on in and make yourself comfortable, first off. The chat is open, so please feel free to chime in. Let me know who you are, where you're from. I'll be checking that periodically. And this is also a really good time for you to get some coaching. So if you have any questions during the conversation, feel free to ask, and I will chime in and do my best to answer your questions. Okay. So today's broadcast is called self-healing. Yeah, the self-healing trifecta. I forgot. And I am really super duper passionate about this whole topic of self-healing. First of all, it's because it's our natural way of being. So, and all healing is self-healing. So I want you to kind of go back and remember when you were a kid, right? And you fell down and scraped your knee. And what did we do? We put our moms or whoever put a little Bactine on it and a Band-Aid. And then we knew we had a belief system that it would heal because it's healed before. We've seen it happen, and it just naturally heals itself. And there's not a whole lot that we have to do to help that healing process. In fact, when we're kids, we probably heal a little bit better because then we just go off and play. We're on to the next thing. We completely forget about it, right? So this you can see where I'm going with this. When we adopt that more childlike mindset and remember that all healing is self-healing and it is our natural way of being, it is our body just wants to heal itself all the time. It is constantly regenerating cells. It's constantly finding that delicate balance in keeping us healthy and whole. And sometimes it doesn't seem that way because the things that it needs to do to keep us alive feel like they're not very helpful. Let me give you an example. Okay. So imagine somebody who drinks too much. So they put a lot of alcohol in their body. Well, their body's natural response is to protect those organs. How do they protect those organs? By patting on a little fat, right? So then we think, oh my gosh, I'm getting fat. My body hates me. It's like, no, you're getting fat. Your body loves you. It's keeping you alive, right? So if we change our perception about how our body helps us, then we can be in better partnership or collaboration with the healing process. It's pretty amazing stuff when you really stop and think about it. So that's what I want to do today. And I want to talk about how to get out of our way so that we can heal our bodies, so that we can experience that well-being of the universe that permeates our planet. You can see it in nature. You can see it everywhere. It is the natural state of things, and we are a part of that. We just have a tendency to get in our own way. That's one part. And I don't want to throw us under the bus because there's a lot of different variables when it comes to illness and disease. So for today's conversation, I want to definitely acknowledge that, illness and disease come from many different places. So they can be environmental, they can be genetic, they can be infectious, they can result from nutrition and lifestyle. And they can also come from a mental and emotional place. And so that's what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on that psychic effect that our minds have and our hearts have over our illness. Because it's all connected. We're all connected. We have the mind, body, spirit trifecta right there, situation happening. You can't have one without the other. So one affects the other. And when we can realize that and really embrace our bodies for one, and embrace our mental ability to heal ourselves, then we just become supernatural, which we are. We're wired that way. Okay, so I have my notes in front of me, so I'll be looking at them from time to time. All right, so what we want to do is when we have a disease or an illness, or even a chronic disease, if you look at the word disease, I look at it as two words, dis-ease. And so ease is when we're in the flow with the well-being of the universe, when we're in harmony with the perfection of the universe, that everything is always operating ideally, really, evidenced by nature. This is my proof. And then dis means out of alignment, right? So when we're out of ease, we are experiencing disease. Now, in my vision, in my world, I see disease as a sign. I see an illness or a chronic illness as a sign or a blip that something is out of whack, that something needs attention. Now, our culture, however, looks at disease as a label or a lifelong diagnosis. And I just don't ascribe to that. I don't believe that. I maybe in some circumstances, but very rarely, for our chronic, those kinds of chronic diseases that I'm thinking about that have everything to do with our mindsets. And so if we, like when we're kids, and I just have to go back to that whole thing. When we're kids, we're too busy playing to even think about, oh my gosh, I'm going to have MS for the rest of my life, or I'm going to have some sort of autoimmune disease that is undiagnosable or so mysterious for the rest of my life, and I need to be in fear of it. We just don't operate like that when we're kids. We're busy being in the moment. We're busy being in the present. We're busy believing that, oh, well, it's just going to heal itself, or I need to take a nap, or I need to sleep, or I need to do something physically to make myself well again. And we, as children, we just follow that. You know, we don't fight it. We just go with the flow. We're sick, we're down, we're out, we're going to sleep, and we're going to let it run its course. And then we're going to bop out of bed in a couple of days, and then we're going to get on with our lives. But in this adult reality, we have lost that, you know, where we just take these things really seriously. And we have a lot of reason to take them seriously. We have a lot of media. We have a lot of pharmaceutical companies. We have a lot of information out there telling us how sick we are all the time. And so it's kind of, you know, it's stacked against us for us to believe that well-being, it excludes us somehow. And in my work and in my reality, it's like, no, it doesn't. It never excludes us. We are part and parcel of that well-being of the planet and the universe. We just have to remember that and get into the flow of that. So when a disease hits or an illness hits, to me, it's time to unpack that, look inside and go, okay, what's going on here? What needs my attention? You know, okay, my knee is flaring up. I can feel my joints ache. What's going on here? What do I need to know about this, right? So I get curious, and I don't get obsessive, but I get curious, and I'll allow the information to come to me as to what I need to do, maybe to remedy it, or what the more psychic or mental or emotional situation is that is contributing to it. You know, and I do study a lot. I read a lot. I study a lot. And I remember reading Louise Hay's "You Can Heal Your Life" when I was probably 19 or 20 years old. I was just in college, and I picked up her book in Alameda, California, outside of a bookstore with one of those sidewalk sales. I think I paid $0.10 for it, and I got it because it had a heart on it, a rainbow heart, and I was like, "That's for me." And so I read this, and Louise Hay spoke about that whole mind-body connection to a great degree, and she even outlined the reasons or probable reasons why certain things happen. So let's take our joints, for example, and arthritis and things like that, and it's a very literal explanation. So she would describe the label, and then she would talk about, okay, well, perhaps there's a little fear there about moving forward. And then the more I read the book, the more I thought, boy, this stuff really resonates with me. It makes such perfect sense that things just don't happen out of the ethers. They happen as a result of something else. There are these laws in the universe, like cause and effect, that are at play all the time. So these things are just not out of the blue. And so that's where my curiosity comes in. And so it's like, okay, I'm not feeling well. What's going on? What do I need to know? How can I remedy this? And that curiosity always yields good answers, right? Always yields good answers. And sometimes those answers are very physical, and sometimes those answers are very emotional and mental based, right? And so for example, when my bones do ache, and I had knee surgery when I was younger, and it flares up, I hop in my infrared sauna. So I have a physical remedy for that. So sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus or blaming anybody for their situations. Stuff happens, right? And so then we come up with these really cool remedies to help ourselves. Now, sometimes though, I'll get aches in my hips, and it's different from my knee pain, right? And then I'll be, what's going on here? And it just, like, for instance, I'll share, this recently came up for me, and it was right after my landlady that I rent her townhome, she informed me that she was going to sell the place. And so, okay, there goes my root chakra. There goes my hips. It's like my body completely responded to the news. I didn't want to move forward. I was just starting to get comfortable here. It's like, what's going on? And I unpacked that one pretty fast, pretty easy. And then I jumped in the infrared sauna to help with the physical parts, to ease that discomfort. But I more so had to do some soul searching and some meditation and some self-talk about root chakra stuff and moving, and it's okay. And yes, it's a pain in the butt. And yes, we have to pack all that stuff and unpack it again and find a place and all that. And then I started to get excited about it. It's like, oh, okay, well then that means I have options. That means I have freedom. So when we take that time to unpack it, the gems come out. The pain is there. It's already there. Might as well just unpack it and look at it and accept it and go, And then as we're doing that, and now we're not trying to shove it down, we're not trying to repress it or suppress it, we have it open and we're going, okay, well, what else can this mean for me? Why is this happening? What's going on? What's the bigger picture? Those are the questions that drive my life. I always know that there's a bigger picture, and I always know that the universe is conspiring on my behalf for my soul's evolution. I know that, and I know it for you too. And so when we are out of alignment with or we're outgrowing a relationship, outgrowing a home, outgrowing a job, and our soul's alignment is its natural recourse is to expand, then the universe is going to give us reasons to expand. And then sometimes those create growing pains in our bodies, right? So it's really interesting that all of this is really tied up together. Nothing is compartmentalized. It all is connected. And so Get curious, get really curious about what is happening inside your body and what messages are there for you. I remember when I was, in my 30s, I had a really wonderful spiritual teacher, and she was a minister at a New Thought church. We don't call that anymore, but New Thought, mind, body, spirit stuff. And I called her one day because I was really riddled with anxiety, that I didn't have the money to pay my rent. And my finances were just going up and down and up and down. And I was really in a panic. And I called her and I says, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I do really, really well? And then all of a sudden it flatlines. I've been a self-employed person for many years. And this is when I was doing graphic design work and whatnot. And her response was, I was expecting her to coddle me, and she did not. What she said was, ask yourself how this is serving you. Well, that really pissed me off. It's like, how does this serve me? This doesn't serve me at all. This is freaking me out. But then when I got more reflective and I took the time and I asked, and I knew that this is serving me somehow. How is this serving me? And then I really got the bright idea or the download that I was trained to be one of those habitual miracle manifestors. This is due to my rocky upbringing and my weird childhood, right? So it would be feast and famine. And then I would, by my strength, conjure up or attract a miracle that saved the day, right? So I got into this rhythm of surviving and then these thriving moments because I'm strong. And even my one of my mantras when I was in college was, that which does not kill me makes me stronger. So how is that possibly going to serve anybody? It's what it did was it kept on dishing me up situations that almost killed me so that I can survive them. And then when I had that epiphany based on that very simple question, Charlene, how does this serve you? How does being broke and almost homeless serve you? And I was like, oh, it gives me the opportunity to manifest a miraculous amount of money, which I did. And I always do. And it always works. And it's like, okay, so what if I can manifest money on a sustainable basis? What if I could, take the drama out of it? Because the drama was starting to get really old and it just didn't serve me anymore. So that was a hard lesson that she said to me. But as I continued to grow and to work with people, I really saw that's the magic question. How does this serve you? And so we can look at our illnesses and we can look at our chronic diseases and our diagnoses and we can ask, how does this serve me? How is this serving me? And it's a sincere, truth-seeking question. Like, I have seen people in jobs and relationships that they absolutely hate, right? And they want out. But for one reason or another, safety usually, and lots of fear of the unknown of what's on the other side of those doors, keeps them locked in place. And then when I witness them being locked in place and being held hostage by their own fear of moving forward, something happens. Some disease, some chronic situation will happen because they're out of alignment that will push them through the other side. So that universal push, that push from the angels or wherever that is coming from, our higher self, I've learned to stop doing that and to just be more graceful and go with the ease and the flow as much as I possibly can. I'm still human and I have my blips, just like everybody else, right? But for the most part, I'll ask, okay, how is this serving me? What's the bigger picture here? How is this what's on the other side of those doors, and oh, I see why my legs hurt. I don't want to move forward. Oh, I see, because I don't know what's on the other side. Let's imagine what's on the other side. Okay, let's unpack that. But I'll get to that in a minute. So I have my favorite 3 power tools for self-healing. That's what this whole podcast is about. I digressed. And so I want to get into those. And again, like I said, this applies to those mental and emotional diseases that we create, or that are created by our thinking and by our protective bodies, protecting us. And so when we can get into that mental space, that psychic space, and do some work with that, we can alleviate a lot of our pain and suffering, almost all of it. Okay. So the first of the trifecta, the power tools, is forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. So when we are carrying around resentment is resistance. It lodges itself in our bodies. It is a huge blockage to our progression, it grunges up our chakras. It really literally gets into our tissues. So, gosh, about 5 years into my practice, I am the quintessential mental healer. I really do believe that we can heal anything mentally, spiritually, psychically, and then of course a little bit of physical stuff too. But I think I put a lot of my healing on the mental aspect of it. But halfway through my practice, about 5 years in, I noticed that there were people with real chronic pain in their bodies. And so I knew that their issues were actually getting in their tissues and staying there. So what did I do? I became a massage therapist because I wanted to work that stuff out. That's when I really started to understand that the physical and the mental are like this. They're married. And so, but if we can work and get the muscles comfortable, if we can work some of those issues out of the tissues literally, and people can feel some comfort in their bodies, then they can do the psychic mental work, the emotional work, right? So I found out that I really didn't like massage therapy much. I am such more of a mental person, but I do respect the physical part of healing very much so. But I do know that resentment and hatred and all those negative emotions get lodged in our bodies, and we need to work them out and to release them. And so when we forgive those who have injured us, it creates this big space and this big freedom inside of your body. And it, to me, is like the mental part of the healing process. And it's huge, and it's free, and it's simple. Is it easy? It's easy for me now that I have practiced it for, many, many years, but it's not always easy for people. So this is where we have to do some work. This is where we can, see a therapist, we can see a soul coach, we can do guided meditation, self-talk, however we need to work this out, because we can say we forgive people and we can do lip service, but our bodies are wise. Our bodies know the truth of our situation. And so if we're just saying, yeah, I forgive that, but we don't feel it, there's a disconnect. And that disconnect is what ends up hurting us, right? So we need to really do some work around that. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do that work just to set ourselves free. Set ourselves free from the person or the situation that you feel hurt by, And it also lets them off the hook, but that's not the point. The point is setting yourself free. and letting that stuff go. Here's my favorite cup. Let me share that with you. This is it. This is the key, people. Let that shit go. Because even though somebody may have harmed you in a very severe way, you have survived it. You're still here. You're listening to this right now. You're okay. What makes you continue not to be okay is the replaying of it over and over and over and over. And so if we can release that and let that go, then we experience emotional freedom. And that's where health and well-being lives, right? And a lot of people get stuck in the whole concept of freedom or forgiveness, thinking that we are justifying or excusing somebody's bad behavior. That's not what it's about at all. We can still say that is not okay what they did, and that is a violation, pure and simple. But what I'm choosing to do right now is to not let it control me anymore. I am choosing to let it go so that I can move on with my life. And then I can, even when I'm in a better place, when I'm in a more healed level of being, then I can unpack it and say, what was that there for? How did that serve me? But if we're not ready to answer that question, I wouldn't even ask it until I've made some progress in moving beyond it and letting myself go. And then maybe doing some retro therapy on that and asking what was the gift there. Because I really do believe and know that there is a gift in every situation, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all here to serve us, even though it doesn't feel like it. And some of you might want to slap me right now, and that's okay. But this is what I know for sure, you know? All right. So that ultimate mental freedom comes from forgiveness and releasing resentment. Resentment is a killer. The second of the trifecta is gratitude. Gratitude and appreciation. It's about opening up that heart chakra. You know, so we released a bunch of crap. Release. This is how I do a house blessing, by the way. First, I'll go and I'll do the release, and then I'll infuse it with love. And so this is the second part of the self-healing trifecta. Gratitude, love, opening the heart chakra. So it raises your vibration, and love and gratitude and appreciation are like the highest frequency. They heal everything. And so they literally change molecules. They change cellular structure when we're in that feeling place of love, appreciation, and gratitude. And so one of the simple ways that I get there is I think of my grandma. I think of the one person in my life that I just absolutely adore, continue to adore, even though she's gone. She was such an influence in my life, and she loved me unconditionally. I don't know if I can say that about anybody else, but I can say that about my grandma. And so when I think of my grandma Grace, my heart swells. I only have good thoughts and good memories and good feelings about her. So she is my healing balm, you know, and I can get into my heart space really easy just by thinking about her. And then also just by placing my hand on my heart and breathing. And so one of the things that I do that I'd love to share with you is when I'm feeling crabby or grumpy, I'll put myself in a gratitude timeout. It's like, girl, because I know what's coming. If I let myself go into the momentum of being crabby and bitchy, it's not going to be pretty, right? So I know enough to redirect my energy, and I have these tools. So here's my little other tool. It's gratitude timeout. It's like, girl, you need to go sit and be grateful, for crying out loud. Cause I'm just like, whoa, nothing works and everybody's shit and blah, 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 you know, and all this stuff that we go through. I know I'm not alone. And so I'll put myself in a gratitude timeout, and I'll touch my heart and I'll think about what I'm grateful for. And even if I'm like super duper grumpy, I can be grateful for the fact that I have freedom to do that, or that I am sitting on something comfortable, or that, you know, I can just pick and choose something really simple. And then, you gain momentum going in that direction. And then it gets easier and easier. And then, I'm grateful for what I'm sitting on. And then I'm grateful for the people who created it. Oh, and I'm grateful for the trees that, grow on the planet that make the furniture possible. And then I'm grateful for the creative minds that people put it together. See, you can just follow the breadcrumbs and you've completely shifted the direction of your energy into something much more positive and much more holistic and healing for the well-being of your entire body, right? So gratitude is a big one. Forgiveness, clean it up. Gratitude, infuse it with love. And then the third one for self-healing is imagination. I told you I was a mental girl. My crown chakra and my third eye chakra and my heart are my favorites. I love being in my imagination. I love sitting in meditation and imagining. So a lot of times my meditations are very active, but I'm doing stuff in my imagination. I'm healing myself. I'm imagining healing for other people. I have an agenda. I am a Western girl. What do you expect? Of course I have an agenda. Sometimes I'll sit in meditation just to be extremely quiet, but most of the time I have an agenda and I'm imagining. The imagination is the portal to all things manifest, right? And it was Einstein who said, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution, right? So when we have a chronic issue, and we go to the doctors, for example, they have this knowledge and it's a limited knowledge, and we know what we know, and then we handle it accordingly, right? Mostly by medication or just very predictable solutions. Well, with the imagination, we can imagine ourselves better. We can imagine a new improved version of ourselves, of our needs, of our bodies, of our arthritis, of our MS, of our autoimmune situations. We know that these are blips, just blips. And when we go into our imagination, we can imagine these blips being smoothed out. We can imagine knowing how to treat ourselves. We can imagine, and it's because we do. It's like we're having a high conversation here with that. So I want to share a story about number 3 in how powerful using your imagination is for healing. I think it's everything. I do. So a couple of years ago, I moved up to Oregon from California to help my son, who was experiencing some severe mental illness. Seemed to be out of the blue. He didn't have mental illness his childhood, and then now he's having psychosis and psychotic breaks. He was homeless in Ashland, living on the streets, and out of his mind. And so you can imagine, if I think that the mind is such a powerful tool and you don't have one, how detrimental that would be. And so I packed my stuff up and I moved up here to help my son out. And he went through the normal protocols. Of course, being a responsible mom, I'm taking him to the doctors. We're checking it all out. I'm looking at holistic. I'm looking at, what do we call them? Everyday medicine. I can't remember the term, but I covered every aspect. And I do believe that there's a place for all healing tools, right? And because he was in such a critical place, near death, he was emaciated, suicidal. He was a hot mess. And so we put him on meds, and I'm just thinking, that's not the right thing to do, but I don't know what else to do. All of this was new to me. And then I watched a bunch of documentaries about meds and mental illness with him, and he cut himself off the meds. And we just decided to embrace this and to heal it with love and with gratitude and food and creating that environment for him to heal himself. And so that was my mission. And I did have that childlike perspective. I didn't have a lot of information about this whole reality, which made me kind of open to alternatives, and open to imagining, and open to Reiki, and open to all of the other different healing modalities. But the biggest one was believing that he can heal his brain, believing that he can that this was just a blip, that this was a temporary situation. And I believed, and through my tears, I believed and believed. And then I used my imagination to imagine him as I knew him. I imagine him whole, complete, thriving. He's one of the most kind, intelligent people I've ever known in my life. I imagine that. I imagine him gifted. He's a musician. He's all of this. So I imagine all the things that I knew him to be, all those positive things, and I held it and held it and held it. Like I said, sometimes through my tears. And I really did walk my talk about having the environment that is conducive to self-healing. And I fed him, and he got fat. And eventually, little by little, it's been 2 years now, he is 100%, I don't even want to say back to normal, better than before. He is completely clear. He's medicine-free. He hasn't been on meds in probably almost 2 years. He was on them just for a very short period of time. But I think they had worse effects on him. That's what he tells me. And he is thriving. He's working full time. His sense of humor, when his sense of humor started coming back, this was probably about 8 months ago. I saw him. It's like, oh, he's coming back. There he is. There he is. It was a long road. But I held that space for him of that healing. And I used my imagination like nobody's business. I would sit in meditations and just see him whole and complete. And then just about 2 or 3 months ago, he said to me, gee, Mom, thanks for believing in me. You believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. And I really thought I was going to die. And I prepared myself for that. That was definitely a possibility, but I believed for better. And so I'm sharing this story with you to tell you that not only does your imagination provide self-healing, but it helps other people heal too. It's like our thoughts are really things. And when we're imagining and thinking and holding that space, and we're feeling it and we're seeing it, we are affecting and bending energy is what I call it. We are energy benders, and we can be energy benders for good or bad or in between or neutral. And I just choose to be an energy bender for the good, And so if you are in a situation with your children or your spouse or your coworker or your auntie or anybody, you can hold them in that space of healing and well-being. And so what we do instead, we hold them in a space of, especially if they've irritated us, or if we have resentment towards them, we hold them in a lower vibration space. And then that hurts us. It gets on us. We have to know that. We have to know that our thoughts, our feelings, all of it is, it not only spews out on other people, but it gets us first. And so to clear up our own environment and to clean up our thoughts and to, unpack all this stuff and to be aware and to keep it G, y'all, is really important. It's so important. I wish we talked about this more in modern medicine. I wish, and I think that day is slowly coming. I know that we're using energy healing and Reiki in hospice and different things like that to ease people's pain and suffering. We're finally coming to a place where we're understanding that energy is everything, and that our thoughts affect energy. Our behaviors it's such a spiritual, psychic energetic communication going on all the time. And so it's important for us to keep our block, our little sphere, clean as possible, right? So, all right, with that, I do want to share that the first day of spring, I am doing a 7-day chakra cleanse course. It's going to be live. So it's going to be every day. We're going to hook up on Zoom, and we're going to take one chakra per day and really cleanse and unpack that and look at what a healthy chakra is versus a blocked one, and do some guided meditations and activities. And you'll have an activity to do every day on your own in addition to the group, just so you can start really understanding how all of this works and how it works for you and how it is a collaboration, and we need to have ownership over the health and well-being of our bodies and stop giving our power away and really understand our own power. We are magical. We are amazing. We are wired to heal. We are wired to heal automatically, unconsciously, subconsciously. So, oh my gosh, imagine if we put our consciousness into it. Imagine if we did this stuff on purpose. That's what it's all about. That's what I do in my work. That's why I love what I do. Okay, so I didn't see any questions come in. I'll check all the places. But I'm going to be here every week talking about these types of topics, helping you really understand your inner brilliance and taking ownership over your amazing, amazing self. So you can find me on YouTube or Facebook every Thursday at noon. This one is on a Friday. I had a little blip, but every Thursday at noon. Feel free to chime in, get some coaching. I'm here to help. All right, you guys. So that's all I have to share today. I hope this helped. I hope it was beneficial for you. Use that trifecta for yourself. Remember, it's forgiveness. Let go of that resentment. Let that shit go. Gratitude, putting out that energy of love and raising the vibe. And then imagination and visioning, right? That replaces worry. Worry is like imagination backwards. So we're going to imagine a brighter outcome, a better outcome, and bend energy in our favor and for the favor of others. So beam that stuff out. Use that imagination. This is a powerful, powerful tool that you have at your access 24/7. Use it. Okay, that's a whole nother topic. I'll probably do a thing on imagination here soon. It's one of my favorites. So until I see you next time, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can find me at charlene@charlenemurphy.com, or you can just comment wherever you are, in Facebook or YouTube, and I will get back with you. And I just wish you the very best. Health, wellness, well-being, realize your magnificence. Just please know that you are so amazing. All right, guys, I love you. I'll see you next week. Take good care.